When you think of electric cars, the first brand that comes to mind is Tesla, since Elon Musk is a master of marketing. However, often overlooked is that GM has also been a leader in modern electric vehicles, and is well ahead of Tesla in regards of having affordable mainstream offerings. Now, in addition to the Volt, Chevy has rolled out the fully electric Bolt, with 238 miles of range and a starting price under $37,000 before any government incentives. So let's go ahead and see if this EV is mainstream enough to lure in new buyers. We would like to specially thank Sutherland Chevrolet for giving us access to today's vehicle. If you would like to check out their beautiful dealership and extensive inventory of new Chevys, we have provided a link to their website in the video description. Like a lot of Chevys nowadays, you will always get smart entry and this key fob. It feels nice in the hand, and remote start is also included. So the interior of the Bolt looks pretty futuristic, but before we dive into that, let's see what makes this car futuristic. Obviously, this is not a traditional car, but unlike Tesla, you can still see some of the powertrain from under the short hood. However, the main component, the 60 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery, is far underneath the car. That battery sends power to a single electric motor powering the front wheels, and puts to the ground 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. And since electric cars have instantaneous torque, GM estimates 0 to 60 in only 6.5 seconds, which is only a few tenths behind hot hatches like the Volkswagen GTI and Focus ST. But electric cars have different priorities, so the most important number is the range. For this, the EPA rates the Bolt at 238 miles, which is currently the best bang for your buck in the industry. The actual MPG equivalent rating is 128 city, 110 highway, 119 combined MPGe. These numbers are nearly identical to the new Tesla Model 3 for comparison's sake. Well, that covers the basics of the componentry, so let's move on to the exterior. The car industry has been moving towards making electric vehicles less weird looking, and the Bolt continues this trend. Up front, it really just looks like a regular Chevy, with the same split grille as something like the Cruze. The only thing you might notice is that the grille is filled in since it doesn't need any air intake. The headlights are also quite normal looking, with these HIDs with LED daytime running lights on all trims. The turn signal is separated below. Coming up to the wheels, there are two available options. Since we have the upper trim, we have the 17-inch ultra bright machined alloy wheels, which I think look pretty nice. The base wheel is also a 17-inch alloy, with practically the same design, just plainer. As far as the brakes are concerned, you have 11-inch ventilated discs in the front and 10-inch solid disc brakes in the rear. You also have brake regeneration, which in this car is strong enough to bring it to a complete stop. Like most electric vehicles, the plug is located up in the front. So since we've already talked about range, let's talk about charge times. They vary greatly depending on which type of charger you are using, from 59.5 hours with a regular household outlet to 9.3 hours for a full charge on a 240 volt outlet. Our Bolt also has the optional DC fast charging option, which allows you to charge at public fast charging stations. That connection will give you 90 miles of range in only 30 minutes. Moving back to the mirrors, they are always black and heated, with the Premier getting turn signals. It's hard to see, but the Premier also has side blind zone alert, which lights up this indicator. While the front looks pretty normal, you start to see some oddness here at the side. You can clearly tell that aerodynamics played a big role in the shaping of the vehicle, especially in how everything slopes upwards. And as far as the overall length, it measures in at 164 inches long, or about equal to subcompacts like the Honda Fit. As far as safety is concerned, the Bolt is rated as a top safety pick 2017 by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. The Premier also has several active safety features that can be optioned on via the Driver's Confidence 2 package. They are low-speed emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keep assist, and auto high beam headlights. As we walk around to the back of the Bolt, again we have fairly traditional styling, and it kind of has a crossover look to it. Most of the tailgate is black, and the tail lights have a unique wave design. They are fully LED on all trims. The turn signal is down here, and of course you won't find any exhaust pipes or anything. You can, however, see the battery that runs all across the bottom. Up at the top, you will find roof rails on the Premier, but not the LT. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything on the outside. So now let's see the high-tech interior. While by and large the exterior is fairly normal looking, the interior carries a more interesting design. The dash is composed of some uniquely textured plastic, but you still get the normal choices between cloth seats on the LT and leather seats on the Premier. For the leather seats, you have 3 different color options: this dark galvanized gray, dark galvanized and sky gray, or light ash and ceramic white. The base LT, however, has to make do with only the middle color scheme. The door trim has the same contrast materials, and the armrest part is padded. You also have more of that scratchy white plastic up here. Only the driver's window is auto up and down, the others just down. So no matter which trim you choose, you will always have manual seats, which are 6-way adjusting. The contrast stitching and leather itself feel and look nice on this Premier. So the first thing that strikes me about the cabin is just how big and airy it feels in here. Not just for its size, but period. As far as materials are concerned, they're what I consider typical for a subcompact, but not for a $45,000 car. All of the upper dash is made of hard touch plastic. And then in the middle you have that white textured plastic. Shiny white plastic outlines the floating part. Naturally, everything else is also hard touch, but it still feels solidly put together. On both trims, press to start. This giant 10.2-inch display is actually standard equipment, and the software is different too. The ready light means the car is fully ready to drive. So the gauges are also a big digital display with very vivid colors. It contains all the expected information and has specific electric stuff on the sides. You can pop out an extra menu to find all the other options, including my favorite, the ability to change the entire design. Coming back to the wheel, naturally the Bolt has electric power steering. However, the leather-wrapped wheel is Premier exclusive. Up here you have the standard cruise control, and next to it turns on the heating, which is now automatic for 2018. On the other side you have buttons for the gauges, phone, and voice. Finally, the wheel itself does manually tilt and telescope. Now when it comes to storage, the Bolt excels more than any other vehicle I've seen in this size category. You have a little tray up here, but once you remove it, this space is very deep. In front of that are several connections, or if you don't feel like fiddling with that, you can always just use the wireless phone charger. Further up, you have 2 cup holders and a 12-volt outlet. But the big surprise is this huge amount of empty space. This is almost as big as the Sienna I was in recently, so it's certainly very versatile. You do have to make a bit of a concession to get all that space, and that's this electronic shifter. Getting into drive is simple enough, and you can pull back once more to activate the high regen braking. You control the amount through this paddle, so in most driving, you don't need to use the brakes at all. The annoying part is that reverse is up and then over. Once selected, the surround vision camera appears on the giant display. This feature is only on the Premier, and you also have trajectory and parking sensors. Press the P to park. Next to the shifter, you have an electronic parking brake, and up here you even have a sport mode. Now let's go ahead and listen to the optional Bose 7-speaker premium audio system. Sound quality is very solid, and I like the punchiness. Next to the volume knob, you have the climate controls. They are single zone automatic on both trims. Of course, since this is an electric car, you do have to keep in mind that your use of climate control does adversely impact the range. Above the panel and the screen, you have the 3-stage heated seat controls for the Premier. And now that brings us to the screen itself, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Bolt's unique software. Interestingly, Chevy essentially designed an all-new interface for just the Bolt, and honestly, it looks much more modern than the regular MyLink system. From the home screen, you can click on things to expand them, like the audio, which you can control through this screen. You can also select all the different sources from here. The button at the top brings up all your apps. Next we have Phone. Since the screen is so big, a dial pad and a list of your contacts are both displayed at the same time. These contacts automatically sync over from your connected smartphone. Naturally, there are several screens dedicated to energy information. The first shows you a pie chart of what features use the most electricity. The second gives you an overall efficiency score based on how you're piloting the vehicle. And the third gives you a graph of how many kilowatts you are burning per mile. Next up is projection. This is where Android Auto and Apple CarPlay would appear when a phone is connected via USB. It's good to have those features, especially when you cannot get integrated navigation on any trim. The last thing that I'll cover is that you can change the home screen layout and the color scheme of the entire system. Overall, I wish this system was used in more GM products because it's quite nice. Moving up, the Premier comes standard with not only an auto-dimming mirror, but one with the rear view camera. While the Bolt's rear visibility is already excellent, it's still nice to have. There is no moonroof on either trim, I'm assuming to keep heat out. So overall, I'm impressed by the Bolt's interior. While the materials themselves are nothing exceptional, it more than makes up for it with fantastic packaging and a lot of really thoughtful technology. It feels futuristic, but not overwhelming, and I think new electric buyers will really appreciate that. It does also have GM's rear seat reminder system. Now let's see if the rest of the vehicle is packaged as good as the front. Chevy calls the Bolt a crossover, and while that's hard to see on the outside, it's actually believable in the back seats. Legroom measures in at 36.5 inches, and headroom at 37.9 inches, both of which are numbers that nicely compare to subcompact crossovers, like the Ford EcoSport. Compared to its electric rival, the Model 3, rear seat space is practically identical. Turning to the door trim, materials are not the same as at the front, since even the armrest is hard plastic. The back windows are auto down only, and the Premier also has single zone heated rear seats. In the back, you won't find any vents or anything, but you do have 2 charging USBs with the infotainment package. As far as what the legroom looks like sitting behind myself, it's more than enough, and the same goes for foot space. With the seat all the way back, space is still adequate. On this side, you do also have a map pocket. In the center, there is a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders. Here's your lighting, and the headliner is kind of soft. You do only have a coat hook instead of an assist grip. Folding the seats is super simple. Just squeeze and pull down. There is no power tailgate, so just press the button under the emblem. Again, you'll find subcompact crossover space, measuring in at 16.9 cubic feet with the seats in place. That's only a little better than the Model 3's 15 cubic foot trunk, but once you fold the seats, it expands to a very generous 56.6 cubic feet. You do have a bunch of extra storage under here, and the floor can even hold itself up. And in case you were wondering, this is what the Charger looks like. As you can see, the seats fold nice and flat for maximum versatility. The passenger seat has the same 6-way manual adjustment. The glove box is heavily dampened, and once it opens up, it is also very large. The only other 2018 update is that the sun visors now extend. Well everyone, that concludes this detailed review of the 2018 Chevrolet Bolt Premier. Hopefully you enjoyed our first ever EV review, so like and subscribe if you did. Thanks for watching, and join us again as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.